Welcome to The Explainer. I'm so thrilled you're here with us today. Look, we're going to dive straight into a fascinating, almost wild duality that is completely defining our world right now. We're looking at the two very different faces of the 2026 AI-driven economy. For some people, artificial intelligence, it's literally the ultimate tool for liberation and building serious entrepreneurial wealth. But then for others, it's ushering in this new era of really profound uncertainty and intense surveillance. It's kind of like a tale of two cities, but for work.
So I want you to pause and rethink traditional employment for a second. What does a job actually look like in an era of hyper-individualized automation? Well, depending on who you ask today, a job in 2026 either means having complete, absolute creative autonomy right from your laptop, or it means your daily tasks, your recovery time, and even your hiring are being totally dictated by machine.
To really wrap our heads around the scale of this shift, just consider this number right here. $47. Seriously, $47. That is the exact baseline monthly cost to completely replace an entire traditional video production team using AI today. Think about that. For less than what you probably pay for a decent gym membership, a single person can now fully automate a whole content business. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. We'll start off with the 2026 AI economy, then look at the faceless channel blueprint and break down the costs of automation. After that, we'll zoom out to look at AI and global employment, talk about the rise of the algorithmic boss, and finally, look at building a human-centered future.
Section 1. The 2026 AI economy. Okay, let's dive into this. Right now, individual autonomy in the creator economy is hitting levels we've just never seen before. AI has officially evolved from this cool little novelty into a massive, heavy-lifting production accelerator. And honestly, nowhere's this more visible than on platforms like YouTube.
Moving to Section 2, the faceless channel blueprint. As industry expert Louis Vick has pointed out, these fully automated faceless YouTube channels have absolutely exploded. Why? Because they completely eliminate the single biggest barrier to entry for creators, the need to actually appear on camera. You no longer need to be super charismatic or build a fancy studio setup to run a media empire. So why is this strategy working so incredibly well right now? Well, it boils down to YouTube's 2026 dual-path monetization system. Basically, you need 1,000 subscribers, and then you have a choice. Either 4,000 watch hours on long videos or 10 million shorts views within 90 days. For these faceless AI channels, zeroing in on high-engagement short-form content, think horror stories, true crime, or snappy finance explainers, is ridiculously effective. Hitting that 10 million shorts views mark, it's actually a much faster track to getting paid than grinding out those long-form watch hours.
But here's the real secret sauce of this blueprint. It's all about the workflow. Successful faceless creators use a highly specific 2-hour batch system. Picture this. In a single, focused 2-hour sprint on a Sunday, they use customized AI to generate their scripts, then they process those into vertical videos with built-in AI voiceovers using tools like Vervid, whip up some optimized thumbnails, and schedule the uploads. They are literally churning out 5 publish-ready videos in just 2 hours. That is barely 24 minutes of human effort per video. It's wild. All right, Section 3. The cost of automation. So you might be wondering, what does running a hyper-efficient digital business like this actually cost? The financial barriers to entry have just completely collapsed. But as we'll see, strategy is absolutely everything here.
The sheer accessibility of these tools is honestly staggering. A high-volume shorts channel can literally run on a budget stack for just $47 a month. If you want, say, better voiceovers and maybe a mix of content types, the mid-tier stack hits the sweet spot at $78. And get this, even a premium stack for high-end long-form documentary stuff maxes out at around $180 a month. Now, it's absolutely crucial to point out that YouTube explicitly banned lazy, zero-effort automation back in 2025. You can't just spam the platform. But if you use these AI tools to strategically speed up your creative direction and workflow, it is incredibly profitable. And this, right here, is the ultimate promise of the micro-AI economy. By leaning on format-specific AI generators instead of the old, clunky manual editing workflows, a process that used to drain 4 hours of your day now takes less than 30 minutes. It gives the individual creator this unbelievable autonomy and just massive leverage to bypass traditional workplace constraints completely. Which brings us to Section 4, AI and global employment. Now, this is where our explainer takes a critical pivot. While individual creators and solo entrepreneurs are out there using AI to escape the traditional 9-to-5, what happens to the billions of people still operating inside it? To figure that out, we turn to the latest comprehensive report from the International Labor Organization, or the ILO. Their Director General, Gilbert F. Humbo, hit the nail on the head with this point. Policy choices, institutions, and governance matter. Human intelligence matters. What the ILO is stressing here is that this massive wave of technological change isn't just some irresistible force of nature that we all just have to bow down to. It's something we have to proactively govern and manage if we want to ensure decent work for people.
To really gauge the risk to the global workforce, the ILO breaks jobs down into specific tasks and scores them on what they call an AI exposure gradient. So gradients 1 and 2 mean AI will likely just augment or assist the worker, helpful stuff. But gradients 3 and 4, that signifies a really high risk that those tasks are going to be fully automated. And here's the kicker. Unlike past industrial revolutions that mostly replaced manual labor, this AI wave uniquely targets cognitive, non-routine tasks. We're talking white-collar work that requires actual communication and decision-making.
And this brilliantly illustrates the global macro impact, which is pretty striking. Roughly a quarter of total global employment is potentially exposed to generative AI right now. Now, thankfully, most of this falls into those lower augmenting gradients, meaning it's more about transforming the job rather than totally eliminating it. But you really have to notice how this exposure breaks down demographically.
Because the exposure is definitely not evenly distributed. The data shows that 41% of female employment in high-income countries is potentially exposed to generative AI. Compare that to just 28% for men. This tells us that women's employment is disproportionately exposed in sectors where AI is being heavily deployed. And that's largely because of the specific types of clerical and cognitive tasks that are currently in the crosshairs for automation. This is a massively important trend to watch, for sure, because it threatens to severely widen the workplace inequalities that already exist.
Section 5. The algorithmic boss. You see, beyond just looking at the sheer quantity of jobs, we really have to look at the quality of those jobs. Let's zoom right into the traditional workplace for a second, where AI is rapidly reshaping human resources and the very nature of management itself.
Remember that YouTube creator we talked about a few minutes ago? The one who gained all that massive autonomy? Well, the traditional worker is often facing the exact opposite reality. Imagine just logging into work and realizing your manager is an algorithm. The big promise of AI and HR was all about objective recruitment and better efficiency. But the reality on the ground, at least according to the ILO, is often historical bias creeping into hiring algorithms and, get this, intense, real-time keystroke surveillance. AI systems are increasingly being used to continuously track your outputs, your behaviors, and even your natural work rhythms.
And when human performance is essentially reduced to these narrowly defined, constantly shifting algorithmic metrics, the real-world costs to job quality are pretty severe. The ILO highlights some major risks here. We're talking increased work intensity as AI speeds up processing, compressed recovery times, and deeply diminished autonomy because an algorithm is literally dictating your workflow step by step. And honestly, we can't ignore the psychosocial strain of opaque decision-making. Imagine not even knowing how you're being evaluated by the system. It is literally the rise of the algorithmic boss.
Section 6. A human-centered future. And that brings us to our final section, where we really have to reconcile these two drastically different realities. How in the world do we balance the incredible digital leverage of the individual creator with the systemic, institutional risks that are currently facing the global workforce?
So the crucial takeaway here is this. As the ILO firmly reminds us, labor is not a commodity. Work is a foundational pillar of dignity, autonomy, and human development. If we want a future where AI actually augments our abilities instead of just degrading our working conditions, we need transparent rules, we need strong social dialogue between employers and workers, and we absolutely need an unwavering commitment to protecting human intelligence and agency. We are standing at such a profound crossroads in 2026. The technology exists right now to give one single individual the productive output of an entire company. But at the exact same time, it has the power to turn traditional workplaces into these hyper-monitored data farms, which leaves us with arguably the most important question of this entire technological era. Will AI work for us, or will we work for AI? Let that sink in for a bit. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.